ever heard of a killer? I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
Somebody said, look at LeakYou video. What the fuck is LeakYou? Is it like a site? What's LeakYou? LeakYou. Is it a YouTube channel? Oh, shit. Oh, all right, bet. Here we go.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, y'all. What's up? What's up? Listen, wanted to come through and just kind of, I wanted to talk to you all about a story that I'm working on and a couple of lives that I'll be working on as, over the next few days or whatnot. Want to talk about this influx of reporting regarding green laser pointers. Uh, I know maybe you haven't seen the news, but that's what I'm here for. There has been, there was an article that was published. USA Today published it. A couple of big, big newspapers published an article regarding a green light coming out of Jupiter, the planet Jupiter. And it just so happened that when that article was published, this green laser, or this green light that was emanating out of the pole, this, I think it was the south, was it the North Pole or the South Pole of Jupiter? One of the two. When that was happening, or when that article was published, there was also some other articles that were published that regarding green lasers being used in the South Pole of Earth at our South Pole weather station. But as some of you may know, there's been a lot of secrecy and conspiracy that surrounds our South Pole weather station. Okay, we're talking about things like and give me a second, 1 second, 1 second. All right. So we're again, when it comes to our South Pole weather detector, neutrino detector, this huge station that we've got down in the South Pole. There's been talk about how we have direct energy weapons that are currently in use in the South Pole. We also have equipment that has the ability to detect craft, off-world craft that come in and out of our atmosphere. Believe me, there's a lot more going on down in the South Pole than what our government would want you to believe. We're also talking about encounters down in the South Pole, including a monolithic slab that mysteriously floats above the ground. All right. People experiencing intense vibrations that defy explanation. People thwarting assassination attempts and other secret operations involving a variety of different missions in the South Pole, including one, a UFO craft that was engaged in human trafficking. Did you really just say that, LeakYou? Yes, I did. Um, what if I was to tell you that there are human beings that get kidnapped on this here planet Earth that are used in human trafficking between different colonies off world, such as Ceres and Mars? Slaves, as we may call them or refer to them as, people that are used as slaves, that are looked at as nothing but a piece of property. in this here thing we call space. Yes. And that, there's been more than one story that I've heard of UFO crafts either being shot down or somehow involved in some form of trafficking human beings, including one that had body parts from human beings inside the craft. So what about this whole like green laser situation? Well, again, if we were to elaborate on the kind of things that go on at this weather station, and the fact that we do have direct energy weapons in which we can send light or even invisible vibration or frequency that can literally splatter or make to disappear somebody, vaporize something completely and utterly, because it's just direct energy. And earthquake causing equipment that can generate and cause an earthquake to happen and has been used in the past. Shout out to UFO Mania. I stay on their site. I swear, I stay on their site. But I want you all to see this. Let me make sure that I've got this visible for you all. All right. There's that famous photo, right? There's that famous photo that made its way to us via NASA JPL Caltech. And this is Jupiter. This is here on Jupiter. There is a green light emanating from the planet. However, doesn't it look exactly like the green laser light that's been also emanating from our South Pole? Laser. Of course, they lie to us. They'll tell us, yeah, we got this green laser light. We're shooting it up into space. This direct energy. All right, there's a lot that goes. There's a lot behind just the technology of lasers. Lasers, if built well enough, literally can be used as a weapon. All right, it is direct energy. So when we're talking about weapons that are direct energy, we're talking about being able to send vibrations or frequencies or even just light. You switch it on, and I mean, with that light comes force, comes energy, right? That will directly slam into you and vaporize your ass, right? But is this a coincidence? I don't think so. I don't believe in coincidences. Lights coming out of Jupiter and coming out of Earth. Okay.
Learn from this unique experience needs to be shared with the entire world. The technology at the South Pole Station certainly can do what it is presented as its primary purposes, and unfortunately, much more. The IceCube neutrino detector is presented as a passive listening device for the purposes of the science as presented. But I'm going to skip right through the chase, folks. I have provided documentation that proves that the 5,160, what they call DOMs, that are embedded in the ice can actually transmit at 2,047 volts each. That gives us a long list of things to consider. It is effectively a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform that I will list rapidly a few things that it can do. Vehicle detection. We're learning that these off-world craft, on-world craft, ours or other nations, are also emitting neutrinos. So this makes the South Pole Station effectively an air traffic control station for this new level of equipment that nobody's discussing. In addition to the ability to detect neutrinos and the exotic vehicles, I have provided documentation that shows that this is also a system for faster than light communications. In the past, Gary McKinnon has hacked NASA, found the off-world fleet, the list of captains, and it's apparent that if we have faster than light vehicles moving throughout this system, we're going to need faster than light communications. This is that facility. Unfortunately, I have other bad news. The season that I was there, 2010 to 2011, we converted from construction to operations and maintenance in both the elevated station and the detector array. Unfortunately, when they first fired it up, that was when we had the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. There was 2 incidental shots before they were able to target it correctly. This is an earthquake generating device as well. This is the weapons of war that we have to deal with now and what Raytheon's hiding. There's an ELF system at the South Pole Station that when I arrived, I was told it was off, dismantled, and completely defunct. In my work, I will rapidly just tell you, I had to figure out the circuitry for certain other repairs, and I found that this system is in fact completely energized, up and running, and being utilized.
All right, what is the Schumann resonance? So the Schumann resonance is essentially an electromagnetic field spectrum, all right, that can detect very low frequencies, all right, very, very low frequencies. Even lightning discharges that are formed can be detected by the Schumann resonance. So this global electromagnetic resonance phenomenon, all right, it's named after a physicist named Winfried Otto Schumann, who predicted it mathematically back in 1952. Schumann resonances are the principal background in the part of the electromagnetic spectrum from 3 hertz through 60 hertz. They also appear as distinct peaks at extremely low frequencies around 7.83 hertz fundamentally, all right? Also at 14.3, 20.8, 27.3, and 33.8 hertz respectively, I mean. The Schumann resonances occur because the space between the surface of the Earth and the conductive ionosphere acts as a closed, variable-sized waveguide. All right, so the limited dimensions of the Earth cause this waveguide to act as a cavity, or basically like a resonant cavity for electromagnetic waves within this very low frequency band, right? And so this cavity gets like excited when electric currents happen, especially in lightning. So in a normal mode description of the Schumann resonance, the fundamental mode is you've got a standing wave in Earth. The ionosphere cavity with a wavelength equal to the circumference of the Earth, okay? So the lowest frequency mode has the highest intensity. And the frequency of all modes can vary slightly owing to, of course, solar-induced type things in our ionosphere. because that compresses the upper wall of of this cavity, right? Now, the higher modes are spaced at approximately 6.5 hertz intervals. It's very, there's a lot of geometry that goes into this. Geometry, math is really what I have found in life to be really like the main thing. It seems like everything is keyed off of is math, some form of math, even if that leads into geometry, spherical geometry, atmospheric type geometry type equations, right? So the observations of Schumann resonances have been used to track global lightning activity. So the connection between lightning activity and the Earth's climate, it has been suggested that they may be used to monitor global temperature variations, variations of water vapor in the upper atmosphere. But Schumann resonances have also been used to study the lower atmospheres of Earth, and again has been suggested as just one way to explore the lower ionosphere atmosphere, and as well on the lower ionospheres on celestial bodies. Do you really think we came up with this? Just ask yourself that. What's up with it, Jay Lee? How you doing? Now, some have proposed that lightning on other planets might be detectable and studied by means of Schumann resonance. But again, do you think that us human beings came up with this? Or did we somehow get this knowledge and get this information from some other source? Is the South Pole Weather Station used as a platform for communications with off-world craft? That's my big question. If we have craft that are moving faster than the speed of light out there to different points in time, to different points in space, different planets in a snap of a finger, has nothing to do with getting in a craft and moving that craft forward for 5 years to get to Jupiter. Oh no, that's not how things are going down in space. No, they are folding space on top of itself. They are folding space on top of itself. And this provides the ability, because they know how to create the atmosphere, so to speak, to do that. When space folds on itself, you have the ability to go from one point to another point instantly. It's almost like taking the earth and folding it down the middle. I can get to Australia by just walking over that folded line at that point. Get it? Bending space-time around you to where you can be in different points in space pretty much instantaneously. The United States of America, it has been known since the late 80s, going into the 90s. Again, NASA was hacked. Very pivotal information was gotten out of NASA, which included a very interesting spreadsheet. And on this spreadsheet were the names of non-terrestrial officers, the names of off-world craft, what their missions were, the names, I believe it was like first name, last initial, just first name of these off-world officers. These officers are traveling on these craft. And from what I understand, shout out to Linda Moulton Howe over at Earth Files, potentially have been to over 25 plus different solar systems or different systems within I believe it's within our solar system. I believe, but don't hold me on that. I believe that if they have the ability to travel point to point like this in space, they can travel to any solar system that they want. How is it that we know so much about planets like Epsilon Eridani and potential life that inhabits these places? Reptilian-like beings inhabiting other planets, gray beings, uh, you know, inhabiting binary star systems, um, water-based humanoid types. The rings, for some reason, the rings of Saturn just came to my mind because I'm sitting here thinking about this green light emanating out of this pole on Jupiter, as well as the fact that we are also emanating this green laser light out of our pole here on Earth. Then we've got all this very strange stuff going on at the South Pole regarding how communications. We need faster than light communications if we have craft out there that call Earth home, don't we? I mean, if they're traveling faster than the speed of light, well, we need faster than the speed of light type communication with them. Then again, look at the distances in which these craft are. How would we communicate with a craft that is 4 light years away type stuff, right? Pretty incredible to think about. I, in particular, because I am an engineer and I focus on, people being able to communicate from one side of the earth to the other in the most instant form as possible, I would be interested in how that technically happens, how that these band of communications happen. I would be very interested in that, honestly. The Schumann resonances were going nuts. We're going crazy, right? Very interesting, to say the least. Coincidence that this laser light showing out of Jupiter at the same time that we also are playing around with green laser lights here on Earth. There it is. There's that green LiDAR beam coming off the roof of the South Pole Station. Huh. Same time. Are we communicating with Jupiter in some form over these lasers? That's my next question. Are we sending packets of communication? And don't tell me that it can't happen. I'm used to reading packet information from network sniffers all the time. I watch communication packets go over invisible wireless links all the time. So don't tell me we can't send packets of information across this laser. God, I want to do an experiment right now. Could I pass packets, network packets of some type, physically over a laser? Just period. Replace, Anyway, don't let me get too deep into that because that's shit that just goes over a lot of folks. I find this to be an insane coincidence, okay? Anyway, one momento as we ride up out of here. Let me just throw this. Shout out to the LeakYou community. Please join us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
Shout out to the LeakYou community. Please join live by introducing my audience to Sean Ryan. Something, that I've been watching his podcast for the longest of time, and he always has he's a great interviewer for one, right? He lets people talk. He doesn't interrupt. But there is something that I'm going to be exploring from his show regarding three whistleblowers that are now breaking their silence on Antarctica earthquake weapons, stargates, and UFO encounters. So we're talking about, and I'm more so talking about Eric Hecker. Eric Hecker has did a show with Sean Ryan where he talks about how these these so-called weather tracking devices are being used for other nefarious reasons.
May I introduce our co-editors for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope? Larry Lasser, CBS News correspondent, and Kenneth Crawford, National Affairs Editor of Newsweek magazine. Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
Antarctica Treaty of 1959, an agreement signed by 12 nations in which the Antarctic continent was made demilitarized to be preserved for scientific research. What do you think about that?
I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is.
He was also previously contracted by Raytheon Polar Services as a cook to work on a cat train that went across the ice, and he said the express purpose for him, I should say, for that team working for Raytheon was they were searching for missile site locations.
They find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily.
The whole idea of this being demilitarized is a load of baloney.
But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing, because the government has really become interested. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science.
They gave us, told us the 30-second sign. We're all hooked up, ready to go. The jump master's got his arm up, getting ready to hit me in the back. And then we see shuffling, and I'm only one of 12 guys that I jump with every time.
He filed a classified complaint under oath, and the Intelligence Community Inspector General said that he found the complaint urgent and credible.
A guy from the back shuffles his way to the front, and it's one of the escorts. He is unmistakable. You can't.
Really?
You know.
Yeah.
I think it gives weight to a lot of the people that have come forward and talked about having direct firsthand experience. That should be investigated now.
The van that they had us in, it didn't have any windows. As soon as the door opened, it looked like a literal dump. That was a 45-degree concrete door. So we go inside, meet another escort in there, take us to this freight elevator. One of the guys looks at my dad as saying to both of us, keep your head down, your eyes on the heels of the man in front of you, or you'll be shot. I get in there, and my dad's sitting at his couch, and everything is torn out. Everything is gone. I was like, do you think this has something to do with Range 19? And he stood up, that man you saw, and he said, don't you ever mention that name to me again. And that was the last time that I got to spend any time face to face with my daddy.
Invariably, the first reports were brought in by quiet and sober citizens like Frank Manor, father of 10 children, a countryman, a hunting man, a man used to wooded swamplands by night.
Frank Manor's UFO remained over his swamp more than 4 hours. His children saw it, his in-laws saw it, residents of the area saw it, the police saw it.
Oh, it moved very rapidly at any speed, or rather any direction it wanted to go. Why it could change and go to the right or the left or go crossways without hesitating a bit.
When you saw this thing take off, I mean, do you have any estimation of speed? How
No, it was faster. It was the fastest thing I've ever seen.
you're worried they're going to kill you?
Yeah.
The Whistleblower Protection Act that has been put forward in the National Defense Authorization Act. I mean, this is what it's for.
And the gear that they had was black OTV vests. They had black camouflage utilities.
So what you're saying is there would have been no they were professionals.
Yes,
there would have been
yes.
no Mexican standoff where
No.
if they fired, they're shooting into their other squad. They had perfect angles.
Yes, they did.
To where both sides could engage you.
Yes.
This is the video called the Comburgus video, which is a close-up of a craft so close that you can see the occupants. It is 100% real, and I was there as that was filmed.
Well, now it's time. Now we're seeing that this is an issue that must be investigated.
I can tell you from our point of view, it's something that just it looked very unnatural and abnormal.
What could somebody threaten you with to make you turn your back on your own child?
I want to emphasize that we are currently in a state of war that people aren't realizing.
Yeah. Listen, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through really quick. I will be live later today, and we will continue our discussion. So much love, everyone. I'm out. Until next time.
The judgment sentence that you are an asshole. The trial is over. Thank you, everybody.
Let's play a game. You have 10 seconds to take all your stuff and get out of my life. 10, 9, 8.
God bless you, motherfucker.
You're really smart. Like really, really, really smart like I am.